Imagine pulling down that dusty ladder in your old family home, the one you've ignored for years, and climbing into the shadows above, only to find something staring back at you, something that's been waiting, hidden, breathing in the dark. What if the attic above your bed holds secrets that could shatter your world? Tonight, I'm going to whisper 4 true stories of attic discoveries that stayed buried for decades until they couldn't anymore. These aren't tales from books. They're real nightmares people lived through. Stay with me if you dare, because once you hear them, you'll never look up at your ceiling the same way again. It started in a quiet suburb of Ohio back in 2015, when Sarah inherited her grandmother's creaking Victorian house after the old woman passed away in her sleep. Sarah was 32, recently divorced, and the house felt like a fresh start, a place to rebuild. But the attic, that attic was sealed off with a padlock that hadn't been touched since the 1970s. She ignored it at first, focusing on the downstairs rooms, painting over the faded wallpaper and filling the air with the scent of fresh coffee to chase away the musty loneliness. One rainy night, though, as thunder rattled the windows, she heard it. A faint scratching from above, like nails on wood, or maybe whispers. Her heart pounded in her chest, that primal fear we all feel when alone in the dark, wondering if it's just the wind or something more. Curiosity gnawed at her, the kind that pulls you forward even when every instinct screams to run. She grabbed a flashlight and a crowbar, her hands trembling as she pried open the lock, the metal groaning like a dying breath. Dust swirled in the beam of light as she climbed up, the air thick with the smell of aged paper and something metallic like old blood. Boxes upon boxes, forgotten relics of her grandmother's life. But then, in the far corner, under a tarp yellowed with time, she found a trunk, locked, but with a key dangling from a string as if waiting for her. Inside were letters, hundreds of them, yellowed and tied with faded ribbons. They weren't love letters, they were confessions. Her grandmother had written them to a man named Elias, detailing a forbidden affair that spanned decades. But woven between the lines were darker truths, hints of a child born in secret, given up in the 1950s, and whispers of a pact to keep it hidden. Sarah's breath caught as she read one aloud in her mind. The attic holds our sin, Elias, and it whispers to me at night, begging to be free. The scratching? It wasn't rats. It was the house itself, or so she felt, the weight of that secret pressing down. As she dug deeper, she found a locket with a photo of a baby, her own aunt perhaps, lost to time. The revelation hit like ice water. Her family's perfect facade was built on lies, and now the attic had chosen her to bear the truth. She burned the letters that night, but the whispers never stopped. They say Sarah sold the house soon after, but sometimes, in her new apartment, she swears she hears them still, faint, insistent, hidden for years, but never truly gone. The watching eye. Picture this, a lonely widower named Tom, living in a farmhouse on the outskirts of rural Maine, where the winters bite deep and the nights stretch forever. It was 2008, and Tom had just turned 60, his wife gone from cancer 2 years prior, leaving him with nothing but echoes in the empty rooms. The attic was his late wife's domain, full of holiday decorations and old clothes she'd hoarded, untouched since her passing. He avoided it, the grief too raw, like a wound that never heals. But one sweltering summer day, as sweat dripped down his back, he needed storage space and forced himself up those rickety stairs, the wood creaking under his weight like brittle bones. The air up there was stifling, thick with the smell of mothballs and decay, and dust motes danced in the slivers of light from a cracked window. As he shifted boxes, his hand brushed something cold and smooth, a porcelain doll, its glass eyes staring up at him with an unnatural gleam. Not just one, but dozens, each dressed in faded Victorian clothes, their painted smiles frozen in eerie perfection. Tom's skin crawled. His wife had never mentioned collecting dolls. He picked up one, feeling its weight, and that's when he noticed the eyes. They followed him, or so he seemed, tracking his every move as he backed away. Heart racing, he rifled through the crate and found a journal tucked beneath it, its pages brittle and ink faded. It belonged to his wife's great-aunt, a woman institutionalized in the 1920s for hysteria. The entries were frantic. "The dolls watch me. They know my secrets. They whisper when I'm alone." Tom felt a chill, despite the heat. Had his wife known? Hidden this madness in the family line? That night, as he lay in bed, he heard faint giggling from above, like children's laughter muffled by wood. He tore the attic apart the next day, smashing the dolls, but shards of glass eyes stared back from the debris. Experts later told him, quoting from an old psychiatric report, these heirlooms carried the weight of generational trauma, objects infused with unspoken pain. Tom moved out soon after, but he swears those eyes still follow him in his dreams, hidden for years, now awakened and unblinking.
The Hidden Roommate. In the bustling heart of Chicago, 2019, a young couple, Mia and Alex, bought their first home, an old brownstone with character, or so the realtor said. They were in their late 20s, full of hope, painting walls and dreaming of starting a family. The attic was just extra space, cluttered with the previous owner's junk, sealed behind a door they rarely opened. But strange things started happening. Food disappearing from the kitchen, shadows flitting at the edge of vision, and a faint smell of unwashed clothes wafting down from above. Mia dismissed it as nerves, but Alex, ever the skeptic, felt a gnawing dread, like being watched in his sleep. One stormy evening, with rain hammering the roof, they heard footsteps, distinct, deliberate, pacing overhead. Heart in his throat, Alex grabbed a baseball bat and forced the attic door, the hinges screaming in protest. The space was dim, lit only by a bare bulb, and the air hung heavy with the stench of sweat and decay. Amid the boxes, they found it, a makeshift bed, crumpled blankets, empty food wrappers, and a journal scrawled in shaky handwriting. Someone had been living there, hidden for years, perhaps since the previous owner died alone. The entries revealed a homeless man named Jacob who'd slipped in through a loose vent a decade ago, surviving in silence, watching the world below through floor cracks. "I am the ghost in their machine," one page read, a chilling quote from his ramblings. Mia's stomach twisted in horror and pity. The man had seen their intimate moments, their arguments, their joys. They called the police, but Jacob was gone, vanished like smoke. A neighbor later confirmed, whispering over the fence, "Old Mr. Hargrove mentioned a helper up there, but we thought he was senile." The couple sealed the attic forever, but the trust between them frayed. Every noise now carried the echo of an unseen presence, a secret roommate hidden for years, feeding on their lives. The forgotten relics. Deep in the English countryside, in a manor house dating back to the 1800s, historian Dr. Elias Grant made his find in 2022. He was 55, a man obsessed with the past, buying the property to restore it and uncover its stories. The attic was a treasure trove, cobwebs draping like veils over trunks of Victorian artifacts. But as he sifted through, flashlight cutting through the gloom, the air grew colder, carrying a faint metallic tang that made his skin prickle. In a locked chest, hidden under layers of cloth, he found them. Surgical tools, stained with what looked like rust but tested as blood, alongside diaries from the 1890s. The writer was the house's original owner, a doctor who performed secret experiments on the poor, dissecting bodies in the attic to unlock the secrets of life. One entry, quoted in Elias's later report to authorities, chilled him. Their screams echo in the rafters, but science demands sacrifice. Photographs tumbled out next, faded images of bound figures, eyes wide with terror. Elias felt the room close in, the weight of those forgotten souls pressing on his chest, stirring a dread that clawed at his sanity. He heard whispers then, faint pleas in the wind through the eaves, as if the attic itself remembered. Overwhelmed, he donated the relics to a museum, but not before a final twist. A locket among the tools held a photo of his own great-grandfather, a patient listed in the diaries. The connection shattered him, his bloodline tied to the horror. He sold the house, seeking solace. But in quiet moments, he wonders if those relics were meant to stay hidden, their secrets stirring something ancient and unforgiving. These 4 discoveries, letters that whispered family sins, dolls with watching eyes, a hidden intruder feeding on solitude, and relics of unspeakable experiments, prove that attics aren't just storage, they're graves for the truths we bury. Hidden for years, they emerge when we're least prepared, forcing us to face the darkness above and within. If these stories made your skin crawl, remember, your own attic might hold something waiting to be found. You believe this really happened? Have you ever climbed into the shadows of your home and felt that pull? If this touched you, stirred that deep, unspoken fear, it's because these secrets needed to reach you. Hit like if you're brave enough, share with someone who needs the warning, and subscribe, but only if you have the courage to hear more. Sleep tight. Don't look up.